This programming is sponsored by Linscomb Wealth, a wealth management firm partnering with individuals and families dedicated to helping them build, preserve, and manage wealth by creating a customized plan to work toward achieving their goals. More at linscombwealth.com.
This is the Engines of Our Ingenuity, made possible by the Friends of KUHF Houston.
Today's story is about cigarettes and fertilizer. The University of Houston's College of Engineering presents this series about the machines that make our civilization run and the people whose ingenuity created them. On April 19, 1995, some murderers parked a U-Haul truck filled with ammonium nitrate fertilizer in front of an Oklahoma City office building. They ignited it, killed 168 people, and injured 600 more. That was 48 years and 2 days after a far larger charge of the same material had gone off accidentally here in Texas. Hugh Stevens tells how on April 16, 1947, 2 Liberty ships docked at Texas City on the Houston Ship Channel. The Grand Camp and the High Flyer. Both were loading cargoes of that same fertilizer. The Grand Camp held 2,300 tons. The High Flyer, 1,000 tons. The rest of High Flyer's cargo was sulfur. At 8 that morning, a small fire broke out in one of the Grand Camp holds. The shipmaster tried to suffocate the fire by closing the hatches. He didn't want to use water for fear he'd damage his cargo. At 8:30, the hatches blew, and, observers said, a beautiful orange smoke began pouring out. Finally, firemen began hosing down the hold, but by now the water just vaporized. At 9:12, a terrible explosion. Pedestrians were knocked down 10 miles away in Galveston. People 150 miles away heard the sound. 2 airplanes were blown out of the sky. Oil tanks were ignited. Throughout the day, the extent of the horror unfolded. Fire was everywhere. The nearby High Flyer was burning. At 1 a.m., it exploded even more violently than the Grand Camp had. In the end, some 600 people died and 3,500 or so were injured. Property damage ran to billions measured in today's dollars. How could such a thing happen? No smoking signs were posted, but who paid any mind to a no-smoking sign in 1947? A cigarette almost surely started the fire. Texas docks had shipped munitions during World War II under tight military control. Their safety record had been spotless, but now the military was gone. People grew careless. Worst of all, no one seemed to know that ammonium nitrate fertilizer is a vicious explosive. Some of the terrible fertilizer explosions, Oklahoma City and the World Trade Center, were intentional. But I finished high school in the logging town of Roseburg, Oregon, the same year Texas City burned. 12 years later, in 1959, a truck delivering 6 tons of fertilizer parked overnight in downtown Roseburg. Loggers needed it to blow up large stumps. Lay a sack of fertilizer and a quarter stick of dynamite on a stump. Goodbye, stump. This time, someone dropped a cigarette in a trash barrel next to the truck. The fire detonated the truck at 2 a.m. Luckily, the downtown was almost empty. 13 people died, nevertheless, and the devastation was total over an area 6 blocks in diameter. For half a century, we've feared the atom bomb and high technology. Meanwhile, we suffer these devastating onslaughts, not from high tech at all, but from fertilizer and cigarettes. I'm John Lienhardt at the University of Houston, where we're interested in the way inventive minds work.